This comment right here just goes to show that outrage channels are bad for your health. They literally make you dumber. They rot your brain. They make it so you feel so confident to go into someone's comment section and act like everything you're saying is 100% right. They're trying to like back up the bad takes that the person is making in the video by using their bad takes. They're so confidently ignorant. And I saw this comment and I'm like, I'm going to respond to this. So I typed out a long response and I'm like, no, you know what? I want to make a video on this because there's so many things in this comment. This is literally like a checklist of wrong information that these guys get fed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from these channels. And when I say channels, I mean like Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, etc., etc., etc. You guys know how it goes. No hate towards House Adams 4841, but my dude, you have been brainwashed. Your brain has been rotted by these guys and they have you looking like a clown. So what I want to do here is I'm going to push back against every single one of the things that said in this with nothing but factual information. And just show you how quickly their arguments fall apart. Keep in mind, this is not, the position that this person holds is not their position. This is a position that they have been fed by these channels. And the reason why is all of these talking points literally come from people like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic. It is a checklist of their talking points. So let's go through this and disprove all of this stuff. Again, this counts towards like Critical Drinker fans, Nerdrotic fans, Geeks and Gamer fans, Star Wars Theory fans, some of them. Okay. By the way, this is in response to a Fantastic Four trailer video where Critical Drinker tries to trash the movie based on the trailer. We know that trailers are almost never a representation of the final product of a film. And no critic that has any value on their craft would do that. They wouldn't. You would not base the opinions of the final product on a trailer. But that's what he does, and these guys still listen to it. Here we go. Well, you, I guess he means Disney or media, continue to gender swap and make every woman character a Mary Sue. Okay, so let's unpack that first line. First of all, there's no gender swaps in the Fantastic Four movie. Shalabal is a separate character from Norrin Rad. Yes, Rad, not Rads, like your dude said. It is Norrin Rad. Shalabal is a separate character. Her version of the Silver Surfer was in a run of the comics. Even if she was only in a few issues, doesn't matter. She was still that character. This is not a female Norrin Rad Silver Surfer. It is a separate character as Silver Surfer. It's not a gender swap. You guys can cope in the comments all you want, but that is just the fact. It is just a fact. It is a piece of information that is true, objectively true. Shalabal was Silver Surfer in the comics. Shalabal is a separate character from Norrin Rad. That is an objective truth, okay? But you guys can go ahead and create your fantasy world in the comments if you want. Who is a Mary Sue? Who's a Mary Sue? There's only 2 women in the movie. If we're talking about Silver Surfer, Shalabal, we don't know anything about that character, so there's no way to know if that character would be what you would call a Mary Sue, because we've only seen like seconds of the character in the trailer. And if you're talking about rumors about what happens in the movie, you still haven't seen the movie, and they are still rumors. Therefore, not factual evidence, speculation. That's all that is. You couldn't be talking about Sue Storm because Sue Storm is a very important character who has done a lot over the years in the comics. Literally not a Mary Sue. Not one at all by any definition of Mary Sue. Here we are. Media literacy, everyone. Also, making your budget back is not a long-term financial strategy. That's how you end up losing money. So I don't think playing word games changes the fact that the movies don't make enough money. By what standard? Right now, the Marvel brand, the tentpole franchise, right, is the largest money-making franchise, film franchise in the world by a large margin. We're talking I think it was like $33 billion franchise. There's, to put it in perspective, none of the other franchises in second, third, fourth, fifth place come with even $15 billion of where Marvel is. That's how far ahead they are. So I think this concept that you guys have of Marvel being a failure and it's going to go under tomorrow is just a gross misunderstanding of business that these guys have tried to teach you. They have tried to teach you that that's how business works. It is not. You continue with, that's the point. These are supposed to be box office blockbusters, not box office, well, we made our budget back. So again, a fundamental misunderstanding of what Marvel is, what Disney is, what all of these things are. Marvel is a tentpole franchise underneath the banner of Disney, a massively, massively successful and financially successful brand. Marvel's brand, their motto is, we can put out a few things, and this is kind of Disney's model too as well. If you look at like the live action Disney remakes and stuff like that, they can put out a few things, and that means if one of those few things is massively successful, say for example, a $200 million movie makes $1.5 billion, then a couple of the other movies that came out in the same year can underperform or break even because they are lifted up by the success of the larger one. That's how businesses work. It isn't like Thunderbolts is an individual movie made by an independent company that relies on that movie being a $1 billion film for them to survive. That's not how Marvel functions. It's not how Disney functions. If Marvel and Disney put out 3 movies a year, 2 of those movies literally break even on budget, and one of them does $1 billion or close to $1 billion, it doesn't matter that the other 2 underperformed. All that means for them is they might shift direction creatively. That's it. Again, we're talking about a $34 billion franchise, the biggest one in the world. But for some reason, you guys seem to think that doesn't mean anything. All right, we'll continue. Is the point of a successful business to make their budget back? Most companies wouldn't be around long if that was a business plan. Protecting mediocrity is exactly how the MCU ended up where it's at. I mean, you're talking about a subjective point, what you consider mediocre. I'm not even going to push back on that because that's just it's what you're saying. And it's probably coming from those guys anyway. However, again, this is the most successful movie franchise of all time. Of all time. So you're attacking the king of the hill instead of going after companies that actually are dying out, franchises that are dying out. Have you checked on Mission Impossible lately? Have you checked on that? There are other franchises that are doing worse by a large margin. But the reason why your guys, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, all these channels attack Marvel is because Marvel is the king of the hill. It makes them the most money because people actually like that media. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't be talking about it. Name one franchise they go after that actually is dying, that is gone, that has died off, that they are still talking about. There isn't one, because that's not a good business model. It wouldn't make sense for them to actually talk about stuff that no one gives a fuck about, because that would be a dead end for them. That's why they talk about Marvel and Star Wars, Harry Potter, Doctor Who. They talk about the stuff that people actually care about. I know you guys haven't figured that out yet. Is there like a problem in your brain? Pretending they're putting out quality content is how they got where they are. Well, I mean, Thunderbolts has extremely high reception from critics and fans, and even these guys admitted that the movie is pretty good, without sarcasm included. So I don't really know what you're talking about there. It's not a bad movie, so I don't really know what that even means. And it's not that they're currently successful to agree. Again, the most successful, not currently successful. There will never be, and I want you to understand this, there will never be another franchise in the world, and the closest one would probably be something like Star Wars or Spider-Man as a standalone franchise. There will never be another franchise in the world as successful as the MCU in terms of film. Never, ever. And I know you're going to have to cope with that. That's fine. But they'll never be. And it doesn't matter if you like them or you don't like them. It doesn't matter if you're a Disney show or not a Disney show. That is an objective fact. But they have some major backers at this point. They have Disney. But even Disney has a breaking point. But again, they would have to lose $33 billion over time for them to go, we're not going to do this anymore. Come on, man. Come on. You don't know anything about business. It's if you like the current content, more power to you, but you called it mediocre. So I guess you're admitting here that it's whatever people take it as. And I know I'm beating a dead horse with this, but that's the crux of the issue. Making your budget back doesn't work long term. But that's not the point. It's not that they want to make their budget back. Of course they want the movies to do better. That's why I said there's a difference between a flop, an underperforming movie, and an overperforming movie. Those are different things. A flop would be a movie where the studio actually loses money across the board. Not only in advertising, which is considered a loss from the jump. Anybody that knows business knows that. You count advertising as a loss anyway. You just do. So the only thing they care about, the only thing that's in their minds is production budget. Money that was actually put into the project that they expect to get back in return. That's it. That's why when a movie breaks even with production budget, it's considered a break-even point for the studio because they've already considered advertising a loss. If you run a business, you know this. It's great if you make advertising back, but you don't always make advertising back. And that is why advertising in most businesses, you take as a loss. You don't look at that. Would you like to make advertising back? Yes, that would be great. But advertising is something you do to try and drum up business. That's the whole point of advertising. It's not considered part of the production budget. It's just not. I know you guys keep wanting to try and include those two things together, but it doesn't work like that. We're not talking about a small business, a mom and pop shop. We're talking about the largest film franchise in the world. They can take a hit on advertising. Let's break that down though, just in case, just before we wrap this up. When it comes to productions in these movies, when it comes to knowing the little ins and outs about it, there are lots of things that you have to factor in that these guys don't factor in. Number one is taxes, rebates, subsidies. These movies with $200 million production budgets may get $50, $60, $70 million back in tax rebates and incentives for filming certain places, which then lowers the budget down to 150, 140. There's product placement. Harley Davidson in the past has paid double digits in the millions to have their products put into films. Other companies have done that too. I'm not even going to speculate what it could be because it could be upwards of a large amount. You don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know any brand deals, trade-offs. How much free advertising did they get? How much did the companies pay Pizza Hut or Burger King or McDonald's or whatever? How much did they pay Marvel and Disney to use their characters on their kids' meals, to put it on their packaging, to make commercials with it, to name items on their menu? Because they pay for that. Marvel doesn't pay Burger King to use their IP. Burger King pays Marvel to use their IP. And they do that because they're hoping that that will bring customers into their business based on brand recognition. It's all a big game in business. And those are just the above the board stuff. We don't know about NDA stuff, things that the actors have going on, whether or not they took a cut and pay for some sort of deal on box office. We don't know those things. So what we're doing here, what's happening here with these guys, is they're playing the most basic game of us versus them over numbers that we're not sure are the final accurate numbers on the production budgets for these movies. And you guys fall for it over and over and over again. It's literally rotted your brain. I've seen so many comments in here of people that didn't even take the most basic courses on business in school, pretending like they know so much about business because they did a Google search, because they've listened to Nerdrotic, because they listened to Critical Drinker. Stop treating these guys like college professors. They're not. Outrage for them is what brings in clicks to their channel. They have no incentive, zero incentive, to be honest about anything they're doing. Matter of fact, they are incentivized to be dishonest. And you in my comment section repeating all of the nonsense that they have fed you just continues to prove my point that you guys have been indoctrinated, brainwashed. You've been changed by these channels. This has been a net negative to the fandom. I don't know how we're going to ever recover from this. They have ruined media for you, and you keep blaming everybody else for it. You're blaming the actors, you're blaming the writers, you're blaming wokeness, You're blaming diversity. You're blaming everything else when right in front of you, the guys that you're watching are the ones that have done it. They are the ones who have ruined it for you because they have convinced you that everything is bad and you can't go watch anything without taking them out of your head because you can't turn them off. Here's a 30-day challenge. Turn off all of their content for the next 30 days and then go see the movies. Then go and see if you like them. Stop letting them tell you what you like and you don't like. It's dumb shit. It's weak as fuck. And coming into a comment section to try and defend them using their inaccurate information and acting like you know so much is crazy.